Script is done 866 words within the 900-word target, 5% tolerance. Here it is. In 885 AD, an Armenian dynasty built a kingdom so powerful, both the Byzantine Empire and the Islamic Caliphate crowned its king on the same day. You were never taught this, not in world history, not in a single textbook. There's a reason it vanished from the record, and it's darker than the kingdom's fall. The Bagratid Kingdom of Armenia rose in the 9th century, after centuries of foreign rule under Roman, Persian, and Arab governors. Its founder, Ashot the First, walked a tightrope between two superpowers, the Byzantines in the west, the Abbasid Caliphate in the east. Both recognized him as king. Both sent him a crown in the same year as if racing to claim him first. That never happened anywhere else in the medieval world. His descendants expanded the kingdom for generations and built a capital called Ani. At its peak, Ani held over 100,000 people, bigger than London at the time, bigger than Paris. They called it the city of 1,001 churches. Ani wasn't a myth. It's still standing, half swallowed by grass on a windswept plateau. Walk the ruins today and you'll find cathedrals with domes still intact. 1,000 years later, their walls carved with animals and saints nobody restores. Armenian architects here pioneered pointed arches and ribbed vaulting, the same structural tricks Europe wouldn't use in cathedrals for another 200 years. Some historians believe Gothic architecture in France borrowed directly from what was built in Ani, carried west by traveling craftsmen and pilgrims. A kingdom on the edge of the known world was quietly centuries ahead of the empires that surrounded it. Merchants came from China. Traders came from Persia. Silk Road caravans stopped at its gates every single day, and its markets rivaled Baghdad's. And then within one generation, all of it was gone. Here's where it turns. In 1045, the last Bagratid king, Gagik II, traveled to Constantinople. He was invited under the promise of friendship, a diplomatic visit between allies. Instead, the Byzantine emperor pressured him for months to sign his own kingdom away. In exchange, they offered him land in a distant province, estates, a quiet retirement far from the throne his family had held for 4 generations. He signed. Armenia's 400-year kingdom ended with a signature in a foreign palace, not a battle, not a siege. The Byzantines marched into Ani and took it without losing a single soldier. And that's not even the strangest part. But here's what doesn't add up. Byzantium didn't absorb Armenia to strengthen itself. It stripped Ani's defenses, disbanded its army, and left the entire eastern frontier wide open, undefended for the first time in centuries. Within 26 years, Seljuk Turk armies poured through that exact gap. In 1071, at the Battle of Manzikert, Byzantium suffered the worst defeat in its history, a defeat historians now trace directly back to the buffer kingdom it had just dismantled with its own hands. Byzantium didn't just erase Armenia. It handed the empire that destroyed Armenia the very door it needed to destroy Byzantium too. So why isn't this in your textbook? Because admitting it means admitting an empire deliberately dismantled its own best defense, out of paranoia, not strategy. Byzantine emperors feared a strong Armenian buffer state more than they feared the Turks beyond it. An independent Armenian kingdom, wealthy, fortified, loyal to its own crown, was a threat to imperial control. Closer, easier to remove than an enemy still gathering on a distant horizon. So they chose the safer-looking threat. They swallowed an ally instead of arming one. That decision doesn't flatter Byzantium. It doesn't flatter the historians who built centuries of Western curricula on Byzantine and Crusader sources either, sources written by the very empire that needed this story forgotten, or reframed as inevitable decline. After 1045, there was almost no one left to correct the record. Armenia's political voice was gone, scattered into exile and distant estates. Ani itself was later leveled by earthquake, siege, and slow abandonment, until it sat empty on what's now the Turkish border. A ruin nobody was funding tour to remember. Convenient silence, dressed up as a footnote about barbarian pressure. Think about what else got filed away like this. A kingdom that earned 2 empires worth of respect, erased in one signature over tea. Architecture that shaped Gothic Europe, credited instead to France and Germany centuries later, its origin quietly dropped from the chain. A collapse blamed entirely on outside invasion, when the real fracture happened earlier, in a quiet palace over false promises and a signature nobody was forced to make. Once you see this pattern, you start noticing it everywhere else in the textbooks. If this got buried cleanly for 1,300 years, what does that say about the other natural declines sitting in your textbook right now, unquestioned, waiting for someone to check the paperwork? Ani still stands empty today, a few hundred feet from a border nobody can cross freely, its churches locked in silence. So who exactly decided this kingdom and this city wasn't worth remembering?